For months, I had been complaining of pain.
My pain is real. Your pain is real.
There is the inclination to always think a woman is just being dramatic.
Amy Schumer has spent years making millions laugh. But behind that fearless humor lies a reality far darker than anyone could guess. Away from the spotlight, she's faced battles that tested her body, mind, and spirit. Struggles so intense and deeply personal that they've remained hidden in the shadows. The truth is more shocking, more heartbreaking, and more relentless than her fans could ever imagine. And once you know, you'll never see her the same way again. The breaking point. Amy, a celebrated comedian and actress known for her quick wit and unfiltered humor, has long been admired for bringing laughter to audiences while tackling life's challenges head-on. Beyond her on-screen success, she's been open about her personal struggles, including years of chronic back pain stemming from a high school surfing accident and later aggravated by a horseback riding fall. In August 2025, that private battle reached a turning point, leading her to undergo a laminectomy, a decision she shared with fans in the same candid, comedic style that has defined her career. Amy's journey to the operating table was years in the making, shaped by injuries that never fully healed and a relentless drive to stay active despite chronic pain. The root cause dated back to her high school days, when a surfing accident left her with a serious lower back injury involving the L5 vertebra. For years, she managed the discomfort, but the damage had quietly set the stage for more severe issues down the line. A horseback riding incident later in life added further strain, worsening her condition and pushing her closer to what she would later call her breaking point. By the time she decided to undergo surgery, Amy was living with an array of diagnosed conditions: a herniated disc, a bulging disc, and even a labral tear in her hip. These weren't minor setbacks. They were persistent, often debilitating injuries that made everyday movement a challenge. Still, Amy resisted surgery at first. She explored every non-surgical remedy available, dedicating herself to physical therapy, undergoing epidural injections, and training under the guidance of specialists like Tim DeFrancesco, a former strength and conditioning coach for the Los Angeles Lakers, and Stephen Frank, a physical therapist known for his work with professional athletes. These efforts allowed her to maintain mobility and strength for years, but the underlying issues never truly disappeared. Eventually, the pain reached a point where it was no longer just a background discomfort, but a constant, intrusive presence in her life. It affected not only her ability to perform physically demanding activities, but also her everyday comfort. After consulting with medical professionals, Amy opted for a laminectomy, a surgical procedure in which part of the vertebra is removed to relieve pressure on the spinal nerves. In her case, the goal was to address the nerve compression in the lower back, the direct result of the original L5 injury, compounded by years of physical strain. The decision wasn't made lightly. A laminectomy is generally considered when more conservative treatments fail, and Amy had already exhausted those options. For someone who had built much of her life around movement, strength, and resilience, surgery carried both the hope of relief and the risk of a long recovery. In August 2025, she revealed the news publicly with her trademark humor. Posting to Instagram while posing with a walker, Amy quipped, "Today I got a laminectomy. It's a short recovery, and when I'm feeling better, I will buy a bra." The announcement, reported by The Sun and Page 6, quickly caught attention, not only for its honesty, but for the levity she brought to a serious medical moment. She followed up with another hospital bed snapshot, captioned, "Pickleball keeps this place in business," blending candid acknowledgement of her situation with playful wit. These moments of humor were more than just lighthearted asides. They reflected her resilience and ability to find laughter, even in the midst of discomfort. For her followers, the posts offered a reminder that vulnerability and strength can coexist, and that sharing the realities of recovery can be both inspiring and relatable. Let's take you back to the heartbreaking details, how long she endured the relentless pain, and the grueling battles she fought just to keep moving. Chronic pain and the path to relief. For much of her adult life, Amy lived with an invisible burden that few could see, but one that shaped her every day: endometriosis. This chronic condition, which affects roughly 10% of women, occurs when tissue similar to the lining of the uterus begins to grow outside it. These rogue growths can attach to other organs, leading to severe pain, internal inflammation, and a host of other complications. For Amy, the impact was constant and deeply disruptive, often leaving her in pain that could not be explained by casual observers. The journey to her diagnosis was not straightforward. Like many women with endometriosis, she endured years of discomfort, fatigue, and uncertainty before receiving clear answers. The symptoms were not just occasional, they became a recurring presence in her life, interfering with work, personal commitments, and even the simplest daily activities. The nature of the condition meant that the pain could be unpredictable, sometimes flaring up without warning, making it difficult to plan or maintain a normal routine. By the time she reached September 2021, the toll had become overwhelming. After an extensive medical evaluation, doctors discovered 30 separate spots of endometrial tissue scattered throughout her body. The severity of the case made it clear that conservative treatments would not be enough. The decision was made for her to undergo a hysterectomy, the surgical removal of the uterus, along with an appendectomy, as the tissue had also spread to that area. The surgery was both significant and life-changing. A hysterectomy is never a minor decision, especially for someone in the public eye who has lived so much of her life in front of an audience. Yet for Amy, the choice was one of survival, of reclaiming her quality of life from a condition that had dictated too much of it for too long. The simultaneous removal of her appendix highlighted the extent to which the disease had infiltrated areas far beyond the reproductive organs, underscoring its severity. Recovery brought a transformation that she herself described in deeply personal terms. For the first time in years, she felt free from the grip of relentless pain. In interviews following the procedure, Amy spoke openly about the difference it made, saying she felt like a new person. The sense of relief was more than physical. It was emotional, a lifting of the weight she had carried silently for years. Her willingness to share these details publicly had a broader impact. Endometriosis remains underdiagnosed and misunderstood, with many women going years without proper treatment. By speaking candidly about her journey, Amy added her voice to a growing movement calling for more awareness, better diagnostic methods, and increased support for those living with the condition. In the months that followed, she embraced a renewed sense of energy and possibility. Without the constant distraction of pain, she could focus more fully on her work, relationships, and personal goals. The path to relief had not been easy. It had required years of endurance, medical intervention, and the courage to take decisive action. But for Amy, the result was nothing short of life-changing. Apart from this, she was fighting with another hidden health battle, one that quietly altered her appearance while leaving those around her unaware of the struggle happening beneath the surface. Cushing syndrome diagnosis. Over time, Amy began to notice a gradual but unmistakable change in her appearance. Her face had taken on a rounder, puffier shape, a transformation that did not go unnoticed by the public. In the age of constant online scrutiny, this change became fodder for internet trolls, who speculated and criticized without knowing the reality behind it. What began as hurtful commentary ended up prompting a deeper look into her health, leading to a discovery that would finally explain the changes she was experiencing. Medical testing revealed that Amy had developed exogenous Cushing syndrome, a condition caused by prolonged exposure to high levels of cortisol in the body. In her case, the trigger was not an internal abnormality, but the use of high-dose steroid injections, which she had received to manage other health issues. The exogenous label refers to the fact that the excess cortisol came from an external source, in this case medication, rather than from the body producing too much on its own. Cushing's syndrome is known for its distinct set of symptoms, many of which Amy had begun to notice even before the diagnosis. The rounded facial appearance, often referred to as a moon face, is one of the most recognizable signs. She also developed what is commonly known as a buffalo hump, a fatty deposit that forms between the shoulders at the base of the neck. These physical markers, along with other possible symptoms such as weight gain in the upper body, thinning skin, and fatigue, aligned closely with the classical presentation of the condition. For Amy, the news brought mixed emotions. On one hand, she finally had a medical explanation for the changes in her body, something tangible she could point to when people speculated about her appearance. On the other hand, the diagnosis was still serious, as Cushing's syndrome can lead to long-term health complications if left untreated. Fortunately, her doctors determined that her case was a temporary form that would resolve naturally once the steroid treatments were stopped. This meant she would not require aggressive medical interventions like surgery, which are sometimes necessary for other types of Cushing's syndrome. Still, the experience was far from easy. The visible changes had occurred in a relatively short span of time, and as a public figure, Amy had to endure not only the physical discomfort, but also the emotional weight of being judged in the public eye. Rather than retreat, she chose to address it openly, speaking in interviews about her diagnosis and using her platform to educate others. And just as she was beginning to recover from that ordeal, another chapter in her health journey began, one fueled by the promise and pitfalls of a much-hyped weight loss drug. Weight loss drug roller coaster. Amy's decision to try a weight loss drug came during a period when she was ready to take control of her health in a new way. She began with Ozempic, the brand name for semaglutide, a medication originally developed to treat type 2 diabetes but increasingly prescribed for weight management. The results were dramatic. She lost 30 pounds, a change that was immediately noticeable. But while the scale reflected success, the physical toll was far more severe than she had anticipated. Shortly after starting the treatment, Amy began to experience relentless nausea and overwhelming fatigue. The side effects were not just inconvenient, they were debilitating. She later learned that her intense reaction was linked to her GDF15 gene, which can heighten the severity of nausea in response to certain medications. This genetic factor meant her body was more sensitive than most to the drug's impact. The effects became so extreme that she found herself bedridden for long stretches, at times unable even to lift her head from the pillow. What had seemed like a promising tool for weight loss had instead turned into a physically draining ordeal. Despite these challenges, Amy did not abandon her search for a solution. After stopping Ozempic, she consulted her doctors and decided to try a different medication, Mounjaro, known generically as tirzepatide. Unlike Ozempic, Mounjaro worked through a dual mechanism, targeting both GLP-1 and GIP receptors, which can enhance its effectiveness for weight loss and blood sugar regulation. Insurance would not cover the cost for her, a reality many patients face when seeking newer medications for non-diabetic use. But Amy chose to proceed regardless, investing in the hope of a better experience. The change was almost immediate. She tolerated Mounjaro far better than Ozempic, with none of the extreme nausea or crushing fatigue that had left her incapacitated before. Not only did she maintain her weight loss, but she also felt more in control of her daily life, able to work and stay active without constant physical distress. Around the same time, Amy began hormone therapy to address symptoms of perimenopause, a transitional stage that can bring about significant changes in energy, mood, and physical health. The combination of Mounjaro and hormone therapy produced benefits that extended beyond weight management. She noticed improvements in her hair and skin, both of which appeared healthier and more vibrant. Her libido, which had diminished during the height of her health struggles, also returned, contributing to a renewed sense of confidence and overall well-being. We have seen Amy shine as a star, but rarely have we glimpsed the struggles behind the spotlight. So let's rewind to her childhood, trace her rise to fame, and uncover the hidden chapters of her private life. The hidden costs of privilege. Amy was born into a working-class family in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, New York City in 1981. Her childhood was marked by a mix of warmth and hardship. She grew up with two siblings, and for much of her early years, life seemed relatively stable. But that stability was disrupted when her family's finances collapsed. Her father, who had owned a successful furniture business, lost it all, forcing the family into a period of uncertainty. The emotional strain of this upheaval was compounded when her father was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a progressive disease that would impact him for the rest of his life. Amy was just 9 years old when her parents separated, and the divorce added another layer of difficulty to an already challenging home life. Despite these personal struggles, she found herself developing a sharp sense of humor, a coping mechanism that would later become her greatest asset. Comedy became a way to process pain, a shield against the instability around her, and a bridge to connect with others. During her teenage years, Amy attended Southside High School in Rockville Center, Long Island. She was athletic, playing sports and staying socially active, but she also carried the weight of her family's circumstances. After graduating in 1999, she went on to Towson University in Maryland, earning a degree in theater in 2003. Her time in college refined her performance skills, but it also deepened her appreciation for storytelling as a means of self-expression. After college, Amy moved back to New York City, working odd jobs to support herself while trying to break into comedy. She performed stand-up in small clubs, often for little or no pay, learning how to command a stage and sharpen her timing. Her early routines often drew on her own life, awkward moments, family anecdotes, and personal insecurities, allowing her to connect with audiences through a blend of self-deprecation and sharp observation. Her big break came in 2007 when she appeared on the reality competition Last Comic Standing. Though she didn't win, her charisma and quick wit made her stand out, leading to more opportunities. Over the next few years, she made appearances on Comedy Central Presents, Inside Amy Schumer, and numerous talk shows, gradually building her reputation as one of the most fearless and relatable voices in comedy. While her career ascended, her personal life continued to be shaped by challenges. She navigated the pressures of fame, the lingering emotional scars from her childhood, and a complicated relationship with body image in the public eye. Through it all, she remained committed to honesty in her work, often using her platform to discuss issues many avoid, whether it was her family's struggles, her father's illness, or her own health battles. By the time she became a household name, Amy had transformed her early hardships into the foundation of her comedic voice. Her rise to stardom was not a straight path, but rather a journey marked by resilience, adaptability, and the determination to turn life's toughest moments into stories that could make others laugh, think, and feel less alone. After fighting all these personal and health battles, let's show you how she transformed her pain into power and how she's now using that strength to change the lives of others. Advocacy through pain. Amy's willingness to speak openly about her health challenges has become a defining part of her public identity, serving a purpose far greater than simply telling her story. For her, it is about breaking the silence surrounding conditions that are often misunderstood or dismissed, particularly endometriosis. She has called it a lonely disease, a condition that can leave women feeling isolated because their pain is frequently downplayed or ignored by others, including medical professionals. By detailing her own years of struggle and the relief she felt after her hysterectomy, Amy underscores the importance of persistence in seeking answers and the necessity for doctors to take women's pain seriously. Her advocacy extends beyond endometriosis to conditions like Cushing syndrome, which she experienced after prolonged steroid use. By explaining the medical cause behind these changes, Amy challenges the tendency to make snap judgments about someone's appearance, reminding the public that visible differences often have deeper health implications. At the heart of her message is a call for self-advocacy. She urges women to trust their instincts, to push for further testing when something feels wrong, and to reject the notion that speaking up about pain is being dramatic. This empowerment through knowledge is central to her mission. Amy knows firsthand how easily symptoms can be brushed aside, and she uses her platform to help others avoid the years of uncertainty she endured. Her transparency also challenges the stigma around medical weight loss treatments, such as Ozempic and Mounjaro. While public conversations about these drugs often focus on quick results or celebrity use, Amy insists on sharing the whole truth, the benefits, the risks, and the side effects. This honesty not only provides useful information, but also pushes back against the culture of secrecy and shame around weight and body image. What are your thoughts on Amy's tragic battles? Share your views in the comments below.